Tempers flare as Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Plum clash in jaw-dropping new footage that's setting the internet on fire. Fans are picking sides, and the drama is unreal. Is this the start of a WNBA rivalry for the ages? Let's break it down. The AllStar Controversy that changed everything. What started as a moment of pure sportsmanship has now evolved into one of the WNBA's most talked-about rivalries. A viral video captured Plum pestering Clark, with Clark appearing both amused and frustrated as she navigated the defense. The Sporting News shared this clip on social media with the caption, "Caitlin Clark is fired up air battling through Kelsey Plum's aggressive defense," and it garnered over 5.8 million views. That's when you know something has struck a nerve with the basketball community. But let's really break down what was happening in that video. You can see Clark's facial expression change from surprise to amusement to determination. She's clearly thinking, okay, if we're going to play like this in an all-star game, let's go. It's the look of a competitor who's been challenged and is ready to respond. What made this moment so compelling wasn't just the defensive pressure, it was Clark's response. The interaction was further detailed in a fan video that resurfaced, showing Clark eventually breaking free with a pick from a teammate and making a notable pass, celebrating airward. Clark seemed to find the whole thing amusing, almost as if she was thinking, really? We're doing this in an all-star game? But she rose to the challenge, made the play, and celebrated with a smile that seemed to say, is that all you got? But social media had other ideas. The comments section became a battlefield faster than anyone could have predicted. Some fans interpreted Plum's actions as targeting Clark, possibly out of jealousy or resentment over Clark's rapid rise to fame. Given Clark's status as a highly publicized rookie and the #1 Durée pick in 2024, her rapid rise to fame may have contributed to perceptions of tension with established players like Plum. The narrative was writing itself. The established veteran feeling threatened by the young superstar. The story of Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Plum isn't just about basketball. It's about legacy, respect, and how social media can transform competitive moments into full-blown controversies. But to understand where we are today, we need to go back to where it all began. And trust me, the journey is far more complex than anyone initially realized. Picture this, February 15th, 2024. The University of Iowa is hosting Michigan, and everyone knows what's about to happen. Caitlin Clark, the phenom from Iowa, is just 8 points away from breaking one of college basketball's most sacred records, the NCAA division. My all-time scoring record of 3,527 points, previously held by Kelsey Plum. This wasn't just any record. This was Kelsey Plum's record, a mark that had stood since 2017 when the Washington Huskies guard etched her name in basketball history. But let's pause here for a moment and really understand what this record meant. When Kelsey Plum set that scoring record back in 2017, she wasn't just putting up points. She was carrying an entire program on her shoulders. Plum held the NCAA women's basketball all-time scoring record, 3,527 points, from February 25th, 2017, until Clark surpassed it in 2024. For 7 years, that record stood as a testament to her incredible college career, her work ethic, and her place in basketball history. Now imagine being in Plum's position. You've held one of the most prestigious records in women's college basketball for nearly a decade. Your name is mentioned alongside the greatest scorers the game has ever seen. And now, here comes this young player from Iowa, playing in an era of unprecedented attention for women's basketball, about to surpass what you accomplished. How would you react? Here's where the story gets interesting, and where it sets the stage for everything that would follow. As Clark approached this monumental achievement, Kelsey Plum responded with nothing but class and admiration. When Clark finally broke the record with a career-high 49 points, Plum took to social media with a message that seemed to embody the spirit of women's basketball. Congratulations on the record, and really your entire season. I appreciate what you do for the game. Much respect and love. See you at the next level, hopefully sooner than later. But here's a detail that makes this even more remarkable and shows the kind of person Plum really is. Plum actually congratulated Clark prematurely when Clark was still 8 points shy of the record, later apologizing with "my bad next game" and a laughing emoji. Think about that for a moment. Plum was so eager to celebrate Clark's achievement that she jumped the gun. That's not the behavior of someone harboring resentment or jealousy. This wasn't just a polite congratulations. This was one legend passing the torch to another. Plum even offered advice to Clark about handling the pressure of chasing the record, stating, "It's going to be tough to feel like you're just playing basketball," reflecting her own experience. She understood exactly what Clark was going through because she had been in that position herself, carrying expectations, dealing with pressure, and trying to perform while everyone watches your every move. At this moment, if you had told anyone that these two would become the center of heated controversy, they would have laughed at you. The narrative was perfect. Veteran player graciously passing the torch to the next generation, supporting the growth of women's basketball, celebrating each other's achievements. It was everything you'd want to see in professional sports. Fast forward to July 20th, 2024, the WNBA AllStar Game in Phoenix. This is where things start to shy, where the narrative begins to change from mutual respect to something much more complex and controversial. During the game, Plum applied aggressive defensive pressure on Clark, notably using a full-court press. Now, this might not sound like much ARL. It's basketball, right? But here's the thing. All-star games across all sports generally follow an unwritten rule. You're here to entertain the fans, showcase your skills, and have fun. Defense is usually minimal, scores are high, and everyone gets their moment to shine. It's not the place for lockdown defense or intense competitive pressure. So when Plum started applying full-court pressure on Clark, it immediately stood out as unusual. This is where we need to understand the broader context of what was happening in women's basketball at this time. Clark's entry into the WNBA had brought unprecedented attention to the league. Clark's popularity has significantly boosted WNBA viewership, with some citing her as having doubled television viewership since 2016. Suddenly, players who had been grinding in relative obscurity for years were thrust into the spotlight, and every interaction with Clark was being scrutinized. Plum, however, had a different explanation entirely. In response to the controversy, Plum provided clarification in a Sports Illustrated article, stating, "Dog could have been CC, could have been my grandma. Coaches made me pick up full court and deny the ball back. I tried. BTW if you watch the Olympics/World Championships, when you play Team USA, this is the style. K, leave me alone, bye." This explanation suggested that her defensive approach was a strategic directive from coaches, aligning with the intensity seen in international competitions like the Olympics, and not a personal attack on Clark. The reference to Olympics and World Championships is particularly important here. Plum wasn't just making excuses, she was pointing out that this level of defensive intensity is standard in international play. Plum is a gold medalist with Team USA in both 3x3 basketball, 2020, and 5x5 basketball, 2024, so she knows exactly what that level of competition requires. From her perspective, she was simply playing the way she's trained to play at the highest level. But here's where things get really interesting, and where we see the first signs of what would become a much bigger story. The incident sparked significant debate on social media, with reactions ranging from supportive to accusatory. Social media reactions included comments like, "Kelsey Plum been hating on Caitlin Clark," suggesting a narrative of rivalry. What's crucial to understand here is that this wasn't just about basketball anymore. This was about something much deeper: the changing landscape of women's basketball, the pressure of living up to unprecedented hype, and how competitive moments can be interpreted and reinterpreted through the lens of social media. Every replay, every angle, every facial expression was being analyzed for hidden meaning. The 2024 All-Star Game incident set the stage for everything that would follow. It planted the seeds of a narrative that would grow and evolve over the next year. What started as what appeared to be standard competitive basketball was now being dissected, analyzed, and debated by millions of fans online. The relationship between Clark and Plum had officially entered the public consciousness, not just as two great players, but as potential rivals. Little did anyone know that this was just the beginning. The plot thickens. July 19th, 2025, Indianapolis, Indiana. The WNBA All-Star Game was supposed to be a celebration, a showcase of the league's brightest talents in Caitlin Clark's home city. The energy was electric, the stakes were high, and everyone was expecting a weekend of pure basketball entertainment. Instead, it became the epicenter of a controversy that would dominate sports headlines for weeks. The 2025 WNBA All-Star Game, held at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, featured a matchup between Team Collier and Team Clark. Clark, despite being sidelined due to a groin injury, served as a team captain, a role that should have been purely ceremonial. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The biggest star in women's basketball, in her home city during the league's premier showcase event, couldn't even play. But nothing about this weekend would be simple. The build-up to this All-Star Game had been unprecedented. Indianapolis had been preparing for months, rolling out the red carpet for what was expected to be the most watched WNBA All-Star Game in history. When the bid was announced shortly ere the 2024 All-Star Game in Phoenix, committees had been working around the clock on logistics to make it amazing. The city had invested heavily, knowing that Clark's presence would bring national attention and economic impact. But beneath the surface, there were bigger issues at play. The players had decided to make a statement about something that really mattered to them. Players from both teams wore black "Pay Us What You Owe Us" shirts during warm-ups, a decision finalized during a morning meeting on the day of the game. This wasn't just about basketball entertainment. This was about collective bargaining, about fair compensation, about the future of women's professional sports. hits. The timing was strategic. With unprecedented viewership and attention on the league, this was the perfect moment to make their voices heard. The Pay Us What You Owe Us movement represented something much bigger than just salary negotiations. It was about recognition, respect, and ensuring that the players who were driving this surge in popularity would be compensated fairly for their contributions. The gesture was widely celebrated as a unified statement about WNBA pay amid ongoing collective bargaining agreement negotiations. It was exactly the kind of powerful, unified statement that could have been a defining moment for the league. The game itself was competitive and entertaining. Team Collier defeated Team Clark 151-131, with players from both sides putting on a show for the packed Indianapolis crowd. Despite Clark's absence due to injury, the energy in the building was electric. Fans were engaged, players were competing, and the basketball was at a high level. Everything seemed to be going perfectly. But then came the press conference, and this is where everything went sideways in a way that nobody could have predicted. Kelsey Plum, sitting alongside New York Liberty star Sabrina Ionescu, was asked about the t-shirt protest. As a four-time All-Star and vice president of the WNBA Players Association, Plum was the perfect person to speak about the collective action. Her response started perfectly, talking about the power of the moment and the unity of the players. During the post-game press conference, Plum stated,
"Well, it was a very powerful moment. We didn't, at least as players, we didn't know that was going to happen. So I think it was kind of like a genuine surprise, but the t-shirt, just united front was determined this morning, that we had a meeting for, and not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that."
She delivered this comment with a chuckle, as if she was making a lighthearted observation. Let's break down this moment because it's crucial to understanding what happened next. Plum's comment wasn't technically wrong. According to reports, Team Clark players largely hadn't attended the early morning meeting, but the way she chose to bring it up, the timing, the phrasing not to tattletale, and the public nature of the call-out, it all felt calculated in a way that immediately changed the room's energy. The reaction was immediate and visceral. Sabrina Ionescu, who played for Team Clark and was seated next to Plum, visibly reacted by rolling her eyes and sarcastically remarking that needed to be mentioned. Even Ionescu, a teammate on that very Team Clark, seemed uncomfortable with what Plum had just said. If that's not a red flag, I don't know what is.
But no, we were just, we had a very,
that really needed to be mentioned.
You can hear the tension in the room, the uncomfortable pause, and Ionescu's immediate pushback. This wasn't just a casual comment, this was something that clearly crossed a line. ESPN senior writer Ramona Shelburne supported Plum's explanation, noting that the shirt idea had been discussed for over a week, but the final decision was made at a breakfast meeting that few Team Clark players attended due to its early timing. So technically, Plum wasn't wrong about the attendance. The meeting had happened, Team Clark players largely weren't there, and the decision was made without their input. However, context matters enormously here. The shirt protest plan had been in development for over a week, and Team Clark, including Clark herself, was informed and supportive despite not attending the morning meeting. The early timing of the meeting was cited as the reason for poor attendance from Clark's team, not any lack of support for the cause. So while Plum's facts were technically correct, the implication that Team Clark wasn't supportive was misleading. Plum later clarified that her comment was intended as a lighthearted joke to ease the tension of the serious topic. She emphasized the players' united front, stating she was trying to make the situation light. But intent and impact are two very different things, and the impact was immediate and explosive. Social media erupted faster than anyone could have anticipated. Fans took sides like they were choosing teams for a pickup game. A tweet by @Ben_Anderson11 stated, "She's on a record heater sabotaging her own league right now," capturing the sentiment of many Clark supporters who felt Plum was undermining the league's biggest star at the worst possible moment. The reaction was sweet and harsh. Clark's fans bombarded Plum's social media accounts with criticism and hate comments, turning what should have been a celebration of unity into a divisive moment that split the fan base. Comments ranged from disappointment to outright anger, with many questioning Plum's motives and leadership. But Caitlin Clark wasn't about to let this slide, and her response? It was absolutely perfect. A masterclass in how to handle controversy with grace and wit. On a post by Plum captioned, "What a weekend," featuring her in front of a Nike logo, Clark commented, "Thank you for the Nike ad." Now, this might seem like a simple comment, but it's actually brilliant on multiple levels. Remember, Plum is sponsored by Under Armour, while Clark has a massive Nike deal worth reportedly $28 million. So Clark was essentially saying, "Thanks for promoting my sponsor while representing your own brand." It was savage, it was witty, and it was the perfect clapback that turned the narrative without being overtly confrontational. This response was widely celebrated by fans, with posts gaining significant traction on social media. Clark had managed to turn the tables without being overtly confrontational. She didn't escalate the drama. She just reminded everyone who had the better brand deals while showing her sense of humor and quick wit. But the controversy didn't end there, because this wasn't just about one comment or one Instagram post. This was about a pattern of behavior that fans had started to notice and piece together over the course of the year. Earlier in 2025, on June 29th, Plum had a playful interaction with a fan wearing a Clark jersey, telling them to do better and giving them a Sparks shirt. At the time, it seemed harmless enough, just a player showing team loyalty and having fun with fans. But in the context of the AllStar controversy, it started to look like part of a bigger picture. The fan interaction video shows what appears to be a lighthearted moment, but when viewed through the lens of the later controversy, some interpreted it differently. The viral video ignited a fierce debate online, with many fans blasting her actions as unnecessary and fueled by hate. During a Halim interview at the 2025 AllStar Game, Plum, when asked about Team Collier's lead, said,
"No, I'm just playing hard. We want to blow them out. We're a lot better than them. I hate to say it."
While likely meant as competitive trash talk, this comment further fueled perceptions of Plum targeting Clark's team specifically. The narrative was writing itself. Kelsey Plum seemed to have a problem with Caitlin Clark. Whether it was jealousy, competitiveness, or just unfortunate timing, the perception was becoming reality in the court of public opinion. And it was becoming clear that this Plum-Clark rivalry didn't begin overnight. It began a while back, one broken record ago. The real truth behind the drama. Let's start with the elephant in the room, the idea that Kelsey Plum hates Caitlin Clark. If you've been following this story based solely on Twitter reactions and YouTube comment sections, you might believe that Plum has some deep-seated animosity toward Clark. But when you actually look at the evidence, not the hot takes, not the viral clips taken out of context, but the actual evidence, a very different picture emerges. Remember how this all started? When Clark broke Plum's NCAA scoring record in February 2024, Plum's response was nothing but supportive. She didn't just offer a polite congratulations. She went out of her way to praise Clark's impact on the game. Plum even stated, "I'm actually very grateful to pass that baton. I'm very happy for her," urging fans to support Clark beyond her performance. This doesn't sound like someone harboring resentment, does it? In fact, it sounds like exactly the opposite, someone who understands the bigger picture and wants to see the sport continue to grow and evolve. But here's what's really fascinating when you dig deeper into this story. Both Clark and Plum have actually addressed their relationship directly, and their own words tell a very different story than what the headlines suggest. When you hear them speak about each other in unguarded moments, away from the heat of competition or controversial press conferences, you get a glimpse of what their relationship really looks like. From Kelsey Plum's perspective, let's look at what she's actually said about Caitlin Clark when she's not caught up in the heat of competition or press conference moments. In her appearance on the Sloan Knows podcast, when asked specifically about Clark's transition to the WNBA, her response was telling.
I mean, she's phenomenal. What she's doing is unprecedented, and, she's getting really close to the record, and I'm excited for her because I really do think records are made to be broken, and I've been in that spot before, so, for her to handle it and just perform and continue to outshine even the high expectations is really, really impressive. When you can shoot,
That doesn't sound like jealousy to me. That sounds like genuine respect from one elite athlete to another. Plum isn't just giving lip service here. She's acknowledging that Clark is doing something special and that she's handling unprecedented pressure with remarkable grace.
When you can shoot and, when you're a big guard, you're going to do good. You're going to do good in the league. So I don't worry about her transition too much.
Plum is essentially saying that Clark has all the tools to succeed at the professional level. She's giving a professional assessment of Clark's skills and predicting success for her. Again, not exactly the words of someone who's rooting against her or trying to undermine her success. When Plum appeared on the Pat McAfee show, her comments about Clark were similarly positive, even when given opportunities to be critical or dismissive.
Oh, brother, I have too much to be thankful in life to hate anybody. But
Love that.
I'm hyped for her. I think it's great for the game.
This statement is particularly revealing because it shows Plum's broader perspective on life and competition. Now let's look at Caitlin Clark's perspective. When she appeared on A Touch More with Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe, she was asked directly about dealing with controversy and criticism. Her response reveals a maturity and understanding that Owen gets lost in the noise of social media debates.
Well, I think first, you have to remember, social media is just such a false perception of reality. And even for myself, you don't always realize that at times, it's not the real world. And, you know, when you're in a position of, you know, people are going to love you, people aren't going to like you.
Clark understands something that a lot of fans seem to miss. Social media creates narratives that don't always reflect reality. She gets that the online drama isn't necessarily representative of what's actually happening between her and other players. This is wisdom that typically takes years to develop, and she's demonstrating it as a second-year player.
But I think when I show up to arenas, those are the moments that like really remind me of like how many people are really there supporting you and loving you. Like the little boys and the little girls, those are the people that are on social media like caring about every decision you make or every comment you make.
This is Clark acknowledging that the real world, the arenas, the fans, the actual basketball community, operates differently than the online outrage machine. She's making a distinction between genuine basketball fans and the social media ecosystem that feeds on controversy and conflict. So what's really going on here? Why does this rivalry narrative persist if both players seem to respect each other and understand the bigger picture? The answer lies in understanding the unique pressures of being elite athletes in the social media age, combined with the specific moment that women's basketball is experiencing right now. We're witnessing something unprecedented in sports, a league that's experiencing explosive growth while simultaneously being under a microscope that no women's professional sports league has ever faced before. This phenomenon isn't unique to women's basketball. We see it in all sports when a transcendent star emerges. Every interaction, every comment, every moment gets analyzed for deeper meaning. LeBron James dealt with this throughout his career. Tom Brady experienced it. Now Caitlin Clark is learning what it means to be under that level of scrutiny. The truth is that both players are handling an unprecedented situation with grace and maturity. They're competitors who want to win every time they step on the court, but they're also professionals who understand the bigger picture of what's happening in women's basketball. There's naturally going to be some tension when a new player immediately receives opportunities and attention that veteran players had to fight for over many years. But rather than resentment or hostility, what we've seen from Plum is mostly recognition and support for Clark's impact on the game. The real truth is this: Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Plum are two incredibly competitive, incredibly talented athletes who are navigating the pressures of professional sports in an unprecedented time for women's basketball. They're not best friends, but they're not enemies either. They're competitors who respect each other's games while trying to win every time they step on the court. The relationship between Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Plum is best characterized as a friendly rivalry rather than a feud. What we've learned from this entire saga is that in the age of social media, every moment gets amplified, every comment gets dissected, and every competitive interaction gets turned into content. But underneath all the noise, underneath all the hot takes and viral clips and Instagram comments, there are just two basketball players who love the game and want to be the best at what they do. If you enjoyed this video, click on the ones showing on your screen to enjoy more.